Most of us know it, but are afraid to say it. The United States has reached a tipping point. The moral virtue and global leadership that allowed us to defeat the Nazis, win the Cold War, and land a man on the moon is now part of a rapidly fading past. In today's America, social morals are eroding. Personal responsibility has been replaced with a culture of entitlement. Fiscal responsibility is being abandoned even at the highest levels of government. Are you and your family really prepared for what is coming? The government can't be relied upon to lead us out of this mess. It also doesn't have enough food to feed you or the rest of its citizens. Before the 1960s, there was enough grain in storage to last the masses inside the United States for 3 full years if need be. But now it is all but gone. In 2003, the USDA stopped measuring for days in reserve of food for every man, woman, and child in the United States. This is because the amount of food in storage in the United States dropped under a 1-day food supply for every man, woman, and child in the United States. The collapse is coming. It's a matter of time at this point. Let me ask you a few questions. How will you protect your family and yourself? What will you eat? Did you know the local grocery stores only have a 3-day food supply? If society breaks down quickly, who will restock the neatly packaged meats and vegetables on the shelves? Recent events have shown us what can happen when order breaks down. When Hurricane Katrina ripped through New Orleans and the Gulf Coast in August of 2005, the rain had barely stopped falling before roving bands of armed thugs took control of the streets. Looting, rape, and even murder became the norm as one of our proudest cities quickly deteriorated into anarchy. Not surprisingly, our government bungled its response, and it eventually took the U.S. military to restore order among our own citizens. If you were in New Orleans as the angry mobs roved the streets looking for food, how would you protect and feed your family? It doesn't take a natural disaster to bring out the worst in America either. The riots in Los Angeles after the Rodney King verdict, or the mass marches on Wall Street and other financial centers throw back the curtain to expose how fractured our society really is, how quickly people really revert to an animal-like nature. Can you imagine what the country will look like when a combination of events like the ones above take place? Who will come to the aid of your family when the U.S. government suffers an inevitable financial collapse and there is no money to pay the soldiers or FEMA workers to come and save you? Will you think back and wish you had prepared? Think of all the money you spend on non-necessities now, like TVs, iPhones, insurance policies, 401ks, automobiles, expensive clothes and shoes. The list goes on. In the blink of an eye, these comforts will be gone. Your gadgets will stop working, and they won't even make good weapons. Your paper investments will be worth one night's fuel to start a fire to keep you and your family warm. If you prepare now, and the time comes when the government loses control, you will quickly forget about your gadgets and worthless paper, and your carefully prepared food and supplies will overshadow what once seemed important in another time. Your family will eat and survive knowing that you thought ahead and saved them and yourself. Imagine what life will be like for you and your family without food, water, and survival supplies if you don't prepare now. It's a much different scenario. Falling empires are nothing new. In fact, this splintering of advanced societies has been repeated time and time again throughout history. In 2000 AD, the Roman Empire was the most powerful and far-reaching civilization in world history. Yet in just a few years, it went from the pinnacle of human achievement to total and complete collapse. Why? It rotted from the top down. Its leaders became morally bankrupt. Its currency was devalued over and over again. Societal order became dysfunctional, and its citizenry paid the ultimate price as death, disease, chaos set back human achievement to such an extent that it took nearly 1,000 years to regain it. Most of us know it, but are afraid to say it. But isn't it obvious that the United States today has reached the same tipping point? Like Rome, we are debasing our currency at unprecedented levels, to the point where our economy is teetering on the brink of collapse. Our cultural morality is in a freefall. For the first time in history, the generation just entering the labor market is expected to earn less than their parents. Foreclosures are at an all-time high. Bankruptcy is no longer something that is shameful. It has become an economic necessity for many families. So let me ask you again, are you ready for what's coming? How exactly do you think the story is going to end? Under what scenario does all this somehow get turned around? Sadly, you already know the answer is, it doesn't. There are some tough times ahead for our country, and you and your family need to be prepared for them now. If you found our website and are still watching this, then something must have brought you here. Certain keywords trigger a search result that bring people to our website. These keywords are triggered consciously or subconsciously. So either way, your search result brought you to this end destination. Perhaps you keep hearing about the $16 and soon-to-be $17 trillion deficit. Possibly it was the realization that so many new government programs cannot be sustained. The mind can work in mysterious ways. However you were brought here, realize that you are not alone and millions of others like you have come here to prepare. Don't worry about what the Joneses up the street might think of you. They will be the first ones knocking on your door, expecting a handout when the coming collapse takes place. You're probably like most preppers. You may have thought about preparing, but laughed it off thinking you still had time. Time is about to run out, and you need to act now. Survival Warehouse offers a complete inventory of survival food, water filtration systems, cooking and heating systems, emergency supplies, first aid and trauma, and other products your family will need to be ready when America finally goes over the brink. Browse the largest selection anywhere of survival foods, defense products, and other supplies your family is going to need, and buy them now while you still can. All of our products are sold at warehouse pricing and completely sustainable. For example, our selection of Mountain House freeze-dried foods have a shelf life of 25 years when stored correctly. Think of it as an insurance policy on your family's future survival. Imagine what the world will look like when the grocery stores are empty and looters and barbarians are killing each other in the streets and fighting for scraps of food. Will you be one of the few who thought ahead and survived? Or will you be one of the zombies foraging for crumbs of food? Will you think back and remember listening to this message and regret procrastinating as you and your family's stomachs grumble? It is a very simple decision. Buy survival food and supplies today. Take the first step to secure you and your family's safety and survival. Start small if you have to. You'll find as you begin to stockpile supplies, your sense of security and well-being will grow. You won't pay as much attention to the collapsing world because you'll know that you can survive.